No.
Yeah, good things. Just seeing if you're paying attention.
Paying attention.
Sometimes I am.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'll call the December 16th Ellis County Commission meeting to order. All those capable, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bobby, if you call roll.
Commissioner Neil Younger,
Present.
Chair Michael Burgess.
Here.
Commissioner Nathan Likert.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Order of business, any changes, modifications? We have one executive session. So on the order, just for public clarity, we'll have our regular commission meeting. We'll go into executive session. How long is executive session?
15 minutes.
We expect 15 minutes. We'll come out, adjourn our meeting at that point, and then we will have a public buildings commission meeting immediately after that. Prior minutes, any modifications or changes needed?
I thought they looked good.
I have none.
Nope, look good, thank you, Bobby. Consent agenda,
I'll move to approve consent agenda items A through G.
I will second that.
okay, we got a motion, a second on the table, any comments or changes?
Nope, I have none.
All those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, passes 3-0. Issues from persons not on the order of business. Anybody want to speak to the commission about things that aren't on the agenda? Please come forward. Don't see any. Move on. Monthly financial report. Any comments from the commission?
Everything looked to be in order.
Yep.
No comments from me. And then monthly department report.
I'd like to make a couple of comments on the monthly departmental report. I noticed our EMS is actually down a little bit from where they have been of over 10 runs a day. It looked like they were around the 9. So a little bit better for the month of November for them. And then our sheriff's department, our jail is back up to about capacity. So wanted to just take a minute to make note of that.
Legislative update. Kansas Representative Barb Wassinger.
A little shorter, so. Is this on? Thank you for having me. I'm Barb Wassinger, State Representative for the 111th District. I cover all of Hayes and all of Victoria. Kind of have one of the smallest geographic districts in western Kansas, but we all have the same number of constituents, which should be about 24,500 approximately. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you letting me speak with you today. I'm happy to give you an update on what I'm doing, but I wanted to ask you all more questions so you can tell me if you want me to update you on what my year looks like. I'm more than happy to do that. It won't take very long. I am chair of General Government Budget. I hear 26 budgets in the state. Some are as big as administration, state budget, Department of Revenue, Department of the Attorney General. But then I have a lot of fee funds. So 26 budgets. This year, at least, I get to do all my fee funds the week before session starts, and then we'll head right into the meat of the budgets. And it's been very interesting. I'm also on the Commerce Committee, as well as being a budget chair. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. I am also chair of the Joint Administrative Rules and Regulations Committee, which goes back and forth. On odd years, the House is the chair. On even years, the Senate is the chair. But it's a pretty steady committee, and it doesn't meet every day. It meets probably every couple months. So that, as well as I'm on a lot of joint committees. I'm on the joint budget committee, which means we can go over some of the budgets during the off session and get some questions answered and be able to kind of pour through everything. Like I said, one of the reasons I wanted to be here is because I tell everybody, you guys are boots on the ground. You are the ones that hear what everyone says at home. And I'm gone for not gone all the time, but I'm off and on gone through the first 4 or 5 months of the year. I know that, and it's crucial to have that daily connection with constituents, because you know how they're concerned about a lot of things. And what I hear a lot is the concern about property taxes. And I get lots of emails and lots of letters and lots of social media comments about do something, do something, do something. And my response is always, well, the property taxes are home rule. They are the local levels. So we need to start from there. And for the state to jump in and tell everyone what they need to do is always brings a lot of you fine elected officials and managers to the Capitol to tell us how stupid we are. So the things that I've heard is that we need to put a cap on property taxes. And I know you heard from your own appraiser how that doesn't always work. That causes an imbalance in taxes. And then I've also been, they want the property tax and they want appraisals capped. But I don't know what the answer is. And for 6 years, I was on the tax committee, and we tried various things to see if we could help Kansans do something and get some tax relief somewhere. But I think I need to hear from you, because I'm hoping that you'll have lots of great ideas that I can bring back and utilize when I'm in Topeka. So that's why I'm here, is to ask what you think the best, what do you think we should be doing? What do you think is the best way to help with property tax relief, whether it's assessor or it's property tax cap? I'd love to hear your feelings about it, and if you open it to the public, that's fine too. But that's why I'm here, is trying to get some ideas and see if we can come together and give some tax relief to the people of Kansas. So I turn it over to you. Don't rush all at once.
Well, thank you for coming and having the discussion, because these discussions probably need to happen more often than they do. I guess my comment, and I'm not speaking for my other fellow colleagues, but a lot of the discussion is over property tax and such. Income as a general rule, money's coming into the county. We're only able to control so much, but our expenses keep rising. As you know, you sat in our seats. The state looks at property tax. The state has other disposable revenue streams to work at, but they choose to focus on property tax. So if we're limited as a county to property tax and a little bit of sales tax, which we are discussing on how to generate more and change that, but we're limited. So it's gonna have to come from state. Either the state's gonna have to pick up some more of the expenses to limit our expenses, or increase our ability to find different revenue streams.
And how would we do that?
Well, there's revenue streams that were at the county level that have now moved from the county to the state. Mortgage processing fees are one. There's some other city county revenue sharing funds that have moved away. A new one is some of the personal property tax is going exempt, so that's another revenue stream that we're going to lose. So we keep losing tools out of our toolbox and keep getting limited on what we can and can't do, and then we get told we're not doing it right.
I don't think you heard that from me.
No, I'm not throwing you under the bus. It's just that's the general consensus.
Okay.
So I'll allow my fellow commissioners to speak.
Yes, property taxes, to most hated tax. I think we know that. And I think a big part of that is because what I try to do as a commissioner over the last several years is you try to explain the mechanisms of it. And I think a big part of the reason people hate it is because it is a complicated tax. You've got, property value, you got appraised values, you got market value over here, and then you got appraised values. Then you have the assessed value, and then you got mill levies that nobody understands, and then you have the budget. And you got these pieces that you have to try to explain how one interacts with the other. That's my concern with things like the cap, and the state trying to manipulate one side of that equation, which then to me just forces, changes to the other side, maybe unknown changes. So in my head, to me, the simplest way, and it could never happen, is you just kind of blow up the whole thing and get down to what is it that we need. We need to collect. We have a budget, for Ellis County. Our budget's about 36 million. About 20 million is collected for property tax. You have that number, and then essentially you have the amount of property we have, and you just, to me, get rid of appraisal values, get rid of assessed values, get rid of classifications like industrial or residential or whatever. And you could look at it, to me, it's very simple. You got 30 by 30 square miles, 900 square miles, that comes to $22,500 per square mile that needs to be collected to meet the budget. And if you're a property owner, then that gets divided out amongst, down to the square foot if we need to. We have the technology to be able to GIS and get down to it. And to me, that would be the simpler you can make property tax, the more people would understand it. And that's why sales tax, a lot of, people don't really complain about sales tax. You can complain it's too high or those kind of things, but it's simple to understand. You go around and buy $100 worth of groceries, sales tax 9%, you got $9 tacked on. It's simple to understand. You buy a $1,000 gadget from somewhere, you're gonna have $90 tacked on. Or property tax with all the little moving mechanisms and all the exemptions to different, and I'm kind of speaking out both sides of my mouth. I'll probably look to approve an RHID. And again, the less you tax something, that means that has to be picked up somewhere else. I'll tag on to what Nathan kind of said with the personal property tax of watercrafts and boats and those things. For Ellis County, it's going to be about $1 million. And again, if you're not taxing something, then that just puts the pressure on somewhere else to pick up the tax. And that would, at this point, look at just general property tax, home prices. And so that's what frustrates me when, I guess, from a legislative standpoint, or just trying to figure out what to do about it, is every time we add a exemption or a change to assessed rates or caps, it just puts pressure somewhere else. And you deal with that pressure for a few years until the people dealing with that pressure blow up and get mad, and then make adjustments back to somewhere else. And so overall, I just feel like it just needs to be a simpler system somehow. Now that would take basically a complete overhaul to get it that way. But as I think about it, that's just what I think about a lot. Is the frustration of people trying to understand how they are taxed. So
What I think I'm hearing is you prefer a flat tax.
potentially. I don't want
It's
to.
not exactly a flat
Not
tax.
exactly a flat, but yes, something that is much straightforward. And I think it would be easier for the taxpayer to understand. And again, when we go into our budget sessions in cities and counties and school districts, they kind of have an idea what they need. And you just say, well, this is what we need. That part to me is our job. And I actually enjoy that part of the job is, people go, you need to cut waste. And then they're like, well, let's talk about our budget. This is what we need to, 70% of it's for wages and benefits. And we need, you want quality of life and infrastructure that's quality, then that's what we need. And I will argue whether we need another million or less, but it's the misunderstanding. Well, now you're waiting as a property owner until you get statements like this to tell you how much do I have to put into it. And I think it would be simpler, maybe a flat tax of some sort where they kind of know going in already my taxes are gonna be within this range because the county's budget is gonna be, relatively the same. It goes up a little bit every year. And so, yeah, something like that.
Okay. Well, I don't want to poke holes in anything that you said.
You can
But I've
poke a
heard-
lot of holes in
I've
my
heard-
argument.
I
just
have no holes to poke in there, but I do have some. We tried to pass a flat tax, just an income tax, and that was hard to
Mm-hmm.
even get going. The other thing is, you're absolutely right. When you give someone a tax exemption, someone else has to pay for it. Plain and simple. That money has to come from somewhere. And that's really difficult. But exemptions, I have a big bone of contention with exemptions. The state of Kansas has so many sales tax exemptions, so many exemptions. It's my belief that every 5 years, everything, on a rotating basis, everything expires and you have to vote. Well, sunsets would be the better word to say. But then we have to go back and look at each one. So I'm not sure whether that's the answer. I know that I like, particularly for income tax, a flat tax, but I don't have everyone that agrees with me, and you have to have at least 84 to keep, to be able to override a veto or make sure you get a bill passed. So I appreciate both of you.
And a lot of our people that live in Ellis County don't know that we provide, 18 different services. That's a big chunk of our funding that goes out. Flat tax, yeah, if you can get it, let's do it. But I think that's going to be not
Hard
able to
sell?
be done. Yeah. The other thing is, and we were all at the KAC, our lottery. Back in 86, I think, or 87 when that was developed. That was supposed to be for roads, bridge, infrastructure / schools. We haven't got our check yet. And along with all the other
Really?
counties. So, and I've got a paper and there is millions and millions of dollars in there. Where is that all going? I don't know if you can answer that or if you can get that answer.
I can get that answer.
Okay. But I feel that would help all the counties out, Do they have to give us each 5 or 10 million? No, but maybe they can offset what they, all these exemptions that have gotten done on personal property.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I drove to Scott County yesterday, and I knew immediately when I left Ellis County because the roads, once I got farther west, your roads are wonderful. So where's your public works director? Right back there. They're wonderful. So I said, thank you Lord, for me being in Ellis County because we've got some great roads. Well, those are all really good ideas. I will ask about the lottery. I do know that gambling money, we're trying to redo that equation because majority of the money that's coming in, and how gambling has just exploded. Majority of the money when we first did the equation went to the casinos because they were the ones that were really kind of doing everything. We would like to change that, and I would be willing to propose that it comes back to the counties to help with property tax relief, ease some budgets. So those are some ideas. Does anyone else at the table want to?
I do have one.
Okay.
One more follow-up. We're seeing kind of a new era in energy. We've got wind. I think you were a part of the wind here. There's proposed solar, there's battery storage. What type of revenue streams, other than some of these pilot payments or maybe some property tax offsets, what type of some of the revenue for the energy that's not used locally, can be assessed? Is there a value to charge for, moving of energy? There's a lot of natural gas that moves under the ground that there could be a movement fee for, or, for our state. we have natural resources. Surrounding states utilize different resources to offset property taxes. Why doesn't our state?
Okay. Well, that make,
Nathan, you've had an idea, and I don't want you to necessarily flesh it all out or throw you under the bus as a crop producer yourself, but an idea of taxing, a penny a bushel, that would go back to counties to pay for specifically roads in this case, roads and bridges, because our ag, as they're heavy users of the roads anyway, need the roads maintained. I know. I guess I'll take the front of that, speaking out. The ag producers probably would not be
Yeah,
overly in favor of that,
believe me,
but.
we'd have a lot of agricultural groups
But
coming
if
in
it
and saying that
offsets
you were
property
stealing it
tax
from
in
the
general,
farmers. Everybody likes to have their money, believe me.
Yes.
They do.
The minute you talk about taking money away,
My argument for that is the producers have no problem sending a penny to a national organization for every bushel they produce. So why not keep it and use it local?
so take it from them and pull it to
There's maybe something there.
You said that. I didn't say that. I want to
I'm
make
saying
sure I
there's some
have that
wiggle room.
correct.
There's some wiggle room there.
But if it's the
Wiggle room,
offset property tax that we'd be using for roads anyway, maybe there's a balance there, maybe, I don't, but those kind of sources, I guess, should be on the table in a way, whether it's solar, wind, bushels an acre, or production or something like that, oil production. Ellis is a big producer of oil. I know that wouldn't benefit other counties per se to tax
Not
something
every-
on
yeah.
oil per barrel to cover counties and roads, but I just think those are ways. And yes, we'll continue. We'll talk about it. Might as well now. The sales tax for Ellis County specifically, if we want to help offset property taxes, that's what we need to really push for here in a few years when it sunsets off, and then look to renew it with the goal to offset property tax.
Well, I just want to alert you that you do have to go to the tax committee in Topeka before you take off you extend that sunset. We've had plenty of hearings in the tax committee where places like Garden City that Finney County was collecting a tax and never went before.
Yeah.
I first of all, I think it's foolish that you have to take that to us. That's another meeting, another
Mhm.
discussion. But usually it's a rubber stamp when you come, but right now it's a necessary thing to do. So,
Okay.
do you have any ideas, Mr. Administrator?
I thought you were going to let me slide.
No.
I guess maybe just to round up a little bit of what the commissioners are saying is just to remember the balance of, there's an article, I think, or a video that Eugene put up on
Yes.
our
You
website.
did a great job, and I haven't had a chance to get by and visit with
But
them.
it's just, your taxes, if you just imagine that three-legged stool, next year, and Eugene's gonna do a reminder to the public here because it does change next year, but if we remove the personal property tax side of it, the confusion that comes within the community is there's the reduction of property taxes that we're gonna collect on boats and RVs, golf carts, most likely from those that have that higher income level that can afford those types of luxuries, if you want to call it a luxury. But if we even keep our property tax, our revenue neutral rate the exact same, but we remove those personal property taxes next year, even our budget, if we stayed the exact same with everything, property taxes rise because it's a shift of taxes. It's not a reduction in taxes. So a lot of people see that usually as a reduction in taxes. Well, it is to some, but the others have to pick it up. So next year we'll lose that $1 million in property taxes for those types of vehicles, but it gets shifted over to real estate taxes. And that's where I think the discussion hurts us a little bit, because even though we may say we're staying revenue neutral or being revenue neutral, people's taxes would still go up. And so it creates that confusion. And that three-legged balance. It's hard, and we really don't have a whole lot of. It's different than like the chairs that we sit in when there's 5, 6 different chairs where you can balance it a lot more easier. But when you have a
Right.
three-legged stool and those are really your own options, you cut one short, you feel that impact locally a lot more.
Well, that's true.
I just wanted to explain that a little bit more because that it does create some confusion into the public, and then even if we're trying to do our best locally and trying to keep taxes level or equal, they still have to rise. And that you brought up Eugene's example of the property cap valuation caps. That's a very simple situation there of only a $20,000 budget with 5 homes contributing, but
Right.
it's a very simple example of also staying revenue neutral and having a valuation cap. It still increases your overall taxes collected. It just shifts it from the nicer homes that are getting appraised at a higher rate to those at the lower value. And you're still collecting the same amount of taxes. It's just shifting it from this side or these people to these people. And that also creates that confusion as well. So
Right.
it's a battle that you probably had as a county commissioner, as a city commissioner. The understanding of how taxes work it's a battle that we'll fight probably 20 years from now, and trying to explain that to people.
Well, I can tell you that it's a lot easier to work with people, and I'm not just saying this to pat myself on the back, but it's a lot easier to work with people that have been in local government, that have been county commissioners, city commissioners, that understand that everything we do at the state affects all of you, whether good or bad. And frankly, the revenue neutral was supposed to put a cap on everything, kind of slow everything down. And in fact, mill levies have risen since they've done revenue neutral. So clearly, revenue neutral is not the answer. It does help with some counties that are a little bit more careful with, or have a little bit of more ability to not have to do anything, but it's a problem for everybody. So we have to go back and look at all of those. I'm not sure everyone agrees with me on sunsetting everything, going over it again. Nobody really likes that. I don't understand. But these are some really good ideas. And it's a good thing to think about. And I appreciate your taking the time, because this is home. People ask me all the time, do you live around here? I'm like, yes, I live here. You have to live in your district. I live in Hayes. But Ellis County is special to me. And I appreciate your service, because I know it's not easy. And people think, well, you only go to 4 meetings in a month. Yeah, that's all you ever do, right? You don't have to do anything else. You just pack your bag and don't think about it for the next 7 days. But I know you're working really hard. And I know I want you to know that I'm always thinking about what we're doing to local government and how we're affecting them. I'm only one vote. I'm only one voice. But I'm kind of annoying. I don't shut up. So I'm happy to speak up for the local communities, and I appreciate you taking the time, and thanks again for all your service. It's nice to see you, Counselor, as well. I didn't go say hi.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for
coming
having
in.
me. Do you have any other questions about the state? Do you want to complain about anything else in the state?
I
Sure.
do.
Okay.
These lobbyists that got this passed with the personal property, I feel before that passes, they should have to come up with an alternative funding for us.
Oh, there you go.
Good idea.
And if they're that good, them lobbyists, I think we may need them on our taxes, and maybe
There you
they
go.
can help us
There you
out
go.
there.
You get them to come and help you. All right.
Okay.
Well,
Thank-
thank you.
Thank
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 you.
you so much. I
appreciate it.
so appreciate being here. And I mean, I know you had a bad situation to have it all look so nice, but boy, it sure looks nice. That's not really how you wanted to do it, but it got done. So you
Right.
might as well be happy that you have a beautiful meeting room.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having
thank
me.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
And Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
You're going to have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Before I call Eugene up, I will ask if there's anybody from the public that would like to have any comments on our discussion and relay anything on to our stated representative about property tax in particular. If not, then Eugene, carefully come up. Personal property tax update.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Eugene Rupp, Ellis County Appraiser. Just wanted to, I guess on the tail of legislative talk, wanted to give you an update on legislative changes that were passed in 2025 that will affect people in 2026. So in 2025, House Bill 2231 was passed, and kind of in a nutshell, what it does is it affects personal property that was being assessed. So just kind of for history, in the prior year, legislation was passed that you no longer needed to come into the county appraiser and assess your personal property annually. As long as we had your signature on file and your personal property was current, that just carried forward where you no longer needed to come in annually and assess your personal property. The change for 2026 involves what you guys just discussed here, where several items of personal property are now exempt and will no longer be listed by the county appraiser and no longer be taxed. And those items are going to be off-road vehicles. These are going to be things like ATVs, UTVs, golf carts, off-road motorcycles, snowmobiles, those particular types of vehicles will no longer need to be assessed annually in our office. So if you did have them assessed prior, starting in 2026, those items are just going to drop off the tax rolls and you will no longer be assessed for those items. Trailers are another thing. Any personal trailer with a gross weight, that's a loaded weight of 15,000 pounds or less, is now exempt as well. So that will be coming off the tax rolls. The other thing is going to be watercraft and marine equipment. So that's pretty much all encompassing. That's going to be all your boats, your jet skis, your pontoons. Those things also will no longer be listed annually in the appraiser's office and coming off the tax rolls. So I do want to make note on watercraft. You still have to register those with the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. You do not need to list them with us, but you still need to go to the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. When it comes to trailers, the exemption does not apply to travel trailers, RVs, tiny homes, mobile homes. If anybody has any questions on what it may or may not affect, please contact the appraiser's office and we can let you know for sure if your particular item falls under the exemption or does not fall under the exemption. The off-road vehicles of note, I wanted to point out that does not apply to what we call a non-highway vehicle. That is basically like an automobile that is no longer tagged, but it is still taxable. Those things will still remain on the tax rolls. So, if I can add just a little context to what you guys just discussed with the legislature. These items, as they're coming off here in 2026, that will, I let Darren know, and I let you guys know, that'll be about $1 million in assessed valuation that will be going away. And I've had people ask me, what does $1 million in assessed valuation look like? Basically, that's the equivalent of pulling $250,000 homes off the tax rolls. So as you're talking through these legislative items, that's just something to keep in context, where you all pointed out that, yes, these are exempt, but really all that does is it causes a tax shift, just like the value cap would do. It doesn't stop taxation or lower taxation, it just shifts it from one place to another. And this particular personal property exemption kind of does the same thing. So where personal property was picking up a bit of that burden, that now gets shifted to the real estate side. So.
Eugene, I have a question for you on our off-road vehicles. I mean, our treasurer is not here right now, but we have the ability to drive some of these off-road vehicles, such as UTVs, if properly outfitted,
right,
on city and county roads. Are there any fees attached to them at all?
So some municipalities, whether it be a city or a county, have a permitting process that allows that vehicle to be driven on their streets. City of Hayes, City of Victoria, City of Ellis may have a policy in place that says if you want to drive it in town, you have to get a sticker or something of that nature. The personal property exemption does not affect any of those types of items. So if there's a local ordinance that requires you get a permit to drive this in your city or area, that's still in effect. That does not change that. Does not change the fact that when you go and buy a new one, you still need to title it. That doesn't change that either. You just no longer need to list those items in the county appraiser's office as personal property. being a farmer yourself, you know that many of them already were farm exempt when you're using your, you know, your Polaris Ranger on the field, out in the farm to haul bales or haul chemicals, that was already exempt for agricultural use. So there's no change to those items. It's more or less the ones that were personal use vehicles, you know, your razors and items of those nature.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eugene.
Speaking of ways to get some money to help offset that, we got a Buckeye Wind Farm donation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lyle Pantel, Assistant Director of Fire and Emergency Management. This morning I have Matt Wegleiter here with Buckeye Wind Energy. This year, as in years past, they've decided to make a donation to the Ellis County Fire Department to assist us with offsetting some of our purchases and helping respond to any incidents that they may have at their facility. We went out again this year and participated in a drill. We had a few injured people simulated, obviously, and we walked through things, talked about where we could improve, and it just bolsters our response and knowledge and capabilities should we ever have to go to their operations and maintenance building or out to one of their wind turbines. So there's no effect to the budget with this other than we get to bring in a little bit of capital. We're going to offset it. The purchase of our upgrade to Mini 80, which was a chassis that we kept from a previous Mini over in Ellis, I believe, and we're going to be putting it down in Shinshin. We got to outfit it with a bed, lights, siren, slide-in unit. So we're going to offset some of that purchases with this.
Very good. Well, thank you
Very
to
good.
Buckeye Wind Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Do we need to get a picture?
Sure.
I know you're so overjoyed.
Right.
Ready? Cool. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Culvert purchase. Brady McKay.
Morning, Commissioners. Brennan McKay,
Morning.
Ellis County Public Works Director. So before you is a request to purchase a culvert to replace Bridge FAS 360. That one was selected to remove from inventory as part of our KLBIP grant that we were awarded earlier this year, which is you have to remove bridges from that inventory system. Putting a culvert in its place satisfies that requirement, and that bridge is in need of repair. It's actually scheduled for 2026 to have a new deck put on it and new substructure put into it. So we made the decision, speaking with the engineers, that we could reduce the size of the structure and still it would adequately perform in the area. So instead of $300,000, we're looking at $35,000 for the culvert and then a little bit more for the concrete work and things like that. They'll come later. So it's about 20% of the original estimate cost to replace this with a culvert.
I see the 8-foot culvert and I'm okay with that. I just have a question. Have we ever looked at using the railroad surplus stuff?
Yes.
The cutoff cars?
Yep. We have, so we want head walls and the like on it. So this engineered culvert comes with head walls and wing walls. But we
Okay.
have put those railroad cars in before.
Okay.
There is savings with them, but there's also not savings with them because then the head walls would have to be built in-house. Something that we're looking more into, and I'm going to be meeting when they come back to our spring conference this May, is a company out of Kansas City, or they have a location in Kansas City where they take the flat rail cars and build bridges out of them.
Oh, okay.
So when I was in Iowa, I got to sit in an hour-long presentation from a county engineer that had just finished up building his 40th rail car bridge, and this one was 192 feet long. So that 192-foot bridge, real similar in length to our one that we're doing down south of Walker for 1.8 million. They did in-house for $273,000, I believe.
Okay.
So we do look at other options.
Okay.
So what are you doing for wing walls on that?
So it'll have whalers and girders on
Okay.
it to pull.
Okay.
So it's a bridge right now just because of the topography. This 8-foot culvert meets all requirements we would have for drainage in the area. It's actually a very small drainage area. So back in the day, it may have just been put in as a bridge because that was easier at the time.
Okay, I move to approve PO 7964 to Wellborn Sales for the replacement structure for bridge number FAS 360.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second on the table. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed, passes 3-0. Noxious weed tractor purchase, Mr. Gary Haas, noxious weed, I guess,
I'll be
oh
here,
yeah,
he's standing
he's not
in.
here.
Yep.
Forgot about that, he's in surgery, correct? Or hopefully going into surgery today.
Something like that. I
Something
believe it's
like
just they're going in and scoping it out.
Well, wish him the best, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll do my best to do it justice for you. Spent a lot of time talking with him over at KC in this past week. So it's in the plan right now to purchase a new mower and boom mower and tractor. In order to get it so it'll be able to be used for next year's season, the order needs to be done now. We're wanting to replace a 2012 John Deere tractor with a boom mower. The boom mower, it needs bushings and its linkages wore out. So what we do regularly when they're not actively mowing is we pull the boom mower off those machines and use it to pull tractor or sheep's foot around projects or pull flat rollers around projects because they have a better turning radius than the graders do. We've also, our broom that was a 2013 that we just sold on Purple Wave, it was on its 4th engine and it just lost an engine again this season. A new self-propelled broom is $100,000. I don't feel it's right to spend that much on something that gets used so infrequently during the year. So the discussion was had between staff to come up with a different solution. And this is not something that is earth-shattering. Lots of other states do this, other construction companies, where they put the broom on the tractor. So then we have a new broom for our asphalt work. And then it's also being utilized throughout the winter and times not mowing to pull rollers on road projects. So there would not be one sold. It would just be transferred to the Road and Bridge Division. With that said, they spent a lot of time looking at different boom mowers, different configurations. We have diamonds right now. They saw an option from Wildcat, from Tiger, went down to Oklahoma to actually test it out in person. They like it. It's simpler and it actually has side shift, so it's easier to maneuver around equipment. And the mower itself was about $20,000 less than the diamond equivalent. So they wanted, the Wildcat is the mower that they want for that tractor. But then there are 3 options for tractors here. There's 2 cases and 1 John Deere. The John Deere is something that's a known quality, known quantity, something we regularly use. Dealership's right here with the extended warranty. It does have the factory reversing fan, and they preferred the cab. They had their employees sit in the cabs of both machines. The employees preferred that cab. It had a better seat option and more room in the cab for the size of the staff that we have out there. The Case IH, the one from Radkey, was able to get a reversing fan, but it's not factory, so it would not be included in the warranty. And then it is only a 16-speed transmission versus the 24-speed transmission that John Deere has. So when you get some of the wetter stuff or heavier stuff, having that closer gear ratio means you can keep that motor, transmission, and everything right in its optimum range. Trying to make sure I've got everything written down right.
So as it's listed here, is this the Case tractors as represented on our handout? Is that with the additional reversing fan or is that non?
The one from Radkey does have a reversing fan, but it's an aftermarket. There's no option from the factory for it.
So that is reflected in the numbers that are on our
Yes, sir.
okay. And the one through Can Equip,
Has no reversing fan,
okay,
which is something that is critical for mowing, especially with the
Absolutely.
sideway, the mower being on your side there. It's bad enough with it behind you with debris that kicks up.
mhm.
And
That's a
with the
necessity.
integrated one, we don't know how the aftermarket one will be. If you have to stop, shut it down, turn it off, flip a switch, then it'll run reverse, or if it's,
That's, no,
Yeah.
usually that
That's-
stuff is so.
Well,
Even,
for factory
even
one.
the John Deere,
Yeah.
I don't care if it's green paint, it still comes from an aftermarket supplier installed by John Deere.
yes,
So
so it's
I'm
covered
not-
under the warranty, is
yeah.
what Gary said.
We're not worried about that. I mean, it's a 3% difference on price between the rag key and the Caraco. So I mean, it's not a earth shattering.
The John Deere was preferred for the cab and the seat for the operators, and then
However, we
their
have had,
transmission.
in the past, we have had engine issues with our green tractors.
Correct.
So the green tractor that you're gonna keep, is that the one that has a new motor?
No, sir. The one
Okay.
that we're gonna keep that's being transferred back it had a fire last year. So it has new injectors, a new gauge cluster, a new ECM, and then a new hood. The one that had the motor replaced 2 years ago, that's 510.
Mhm.
That one is a 2013 tractor. That's what we call the double deck. It's got a rear mounted mower and a side mounted mower, not a boom.
Okay.
So we're keeping that 510 under noxious weed for mowing. We're just replacing one of the other boom mowers.
What with the broom, Brandon, were you gonna get, and that's important with that reversing fan. There's more dust, so what
Correct.
width are you going with?
I believe, bear with me, I actually have it with me because I was gonna talk about it with Darren later.
Okay. And does this tractor also have a buddy seat in it or not?
No, none of them have, they're not big enough for that. It's an 8 foot wide broom, so same as our self-propelled
okay.
system. But
Okay.
then instead of running, there's rear options, there's PTO options, there's also independent power pack options. What we're looking at doing is a front mounted one. So they're not looking over their shoulder constantly. It's front mounted. It's gonna utilize the hydraulic pump from the boom mower to operate it. And then there's options for a snow pusher for Gary, potentially in the winter time to get more use out of the machine.
So basically a broom on the front, just like a skid loader.
Yes,
Only
except
a
it'll
little
go a
bit
lot
bigger.
better down the
Yes.
roadways.
Yes.
Skid loader's good for parking lots and parks areas, but
Right.
our straight line roads that we do, we would burn up a skid steer pretty quick trying to broom the edge of it.
And that's what I was thinking, because our parking lot, whenever we can get to it, it'd be faster. You
And
know,
we still have one
mobility.
self-propelled broom. So
Okay.
we had two.
Yes.
This is just another option for us that we felt is the best use of county dollars. It's $15,000 versus $100,000 machine that you'll utilize for just a few months of the year, and then it sits back under a shed.
Mhm.
This is something that'll get used a lot more regularly.
Another,
Brendan, or, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
The boom mower, is that got a PTO and self-contained hydraulic system, or is that integrated into the tractor system?
It's run off the PTO, and I believe it has its own hydraulic pump, just like the Diamonds are,
Okay,
where it's a front-mounted PTO pump, hydraulic pump.
okay. So it's gonna have its own complete separate system
Yes, it should.
hydraulically?
Yes, and it should have its own cooler, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
That's how the Diamonds are set up. I didn't go down with the guys to Oklahoma to see it, so and Gary's not here to explain. I've got a note list here that I'm reading off of, plus everything we've talked about, and I've written down myself.
you know, that changes on requirements on cooling on radiators and everything
Correct.
along that line, and also cooling the hydraulic flow,
Yes.
and having the sustainable flow for that. So, I mean, we're very similar between the two.
Yeah, it's similar to our current ones, except it's got one less linkage, but it does have a side shift, so it's easier to clear obstacles with them, and there's less moving parts that can bushings and things, pins that need to get replaced.
Does it have a culvert finder?
Oh yeah, they all find it. Drive until you see sparks
Mhm.
and signposts. So with that side shift, that was actually really benefit. That's why they want this Wildcat. 'Cause with the
Gotcha.
current one, they have to pull it in and you have to lift up as you pull in, otherwise you jam it in the ground. Because this has a shift a sliding frame on it, it can slide in and out. So as it comes up to the edge of a culvert, that's where we put our header markers for all the farmers to knock over. Those object markers and the Carsonites. Those are meant to, those have to be installed depending upon if it's in the right of way or adjacent to the right of way. So we have those out, but those routinely get smashed and grass grows up, weeds grow up. But fortunately, you find some of them with the end of a mower. But they feel this is a the best option to go forward with.
Well, I just want to say, you know, thanks to head departments to think of this. Like say you got a broom and it sits back there, or two of them back there. We got maintenance on them, 2 brooms. Now we got one.
There's a reason
Good
why when you
decision
go
on your
through-
guys' part.
Yep. There's a reason why when you go through construction zones, not so much in Kansas, it's fairly new, it seems like in Kansas. But all of our surrounding states and going back home and going up north to see family, every construction zone I saw had a loader mounted option, a dump truck mounted option, or a tractor mounted option. For real small projects had a skid steer mounted option. It's just being able to do more with one piece of equipment so you get better utilization out of that piece of equipment. If we're doing this stuff in town and helping out cities that we do, the tractor broom's probably not our best option. That's why we're keeping it self-propelled, because it can get in closer. But this one will actually be able to get in all the way to the edge of the curb line when we go to a cul-de-sac. Because the self-propelled brooms, the broom's mid-mounted under the machine. This one's mounted out in front, so we'll be able to actually get all the way to the end to broom off.
So the Carico bid in here, is that set, because I see a bid for the diamond mower as well.
Yeah, so that was just to show the pricing, but not that they did not want to go with the diamond mower. The
Okay.
Can-Equip will still do the upfitting with the Tiger mower, whether it's their tractor, Radke's tractor, or Carico's tractor.
Okay.
And I believe it's about a $20,000 in savings from the Wildcat option versus the Diamond option. So it is separated out though. The tractor itself from John Deere is $156,543 20 cents, and the one from Radke is $151,240. But they're all usually in the same cost for the upfitting from Can-Equip, because Can-Equip is the only Tiger dealer.
And going back, Radke is including their aftermarket reversing thing. at
Correct,
that
but
price.
it won't be covered with the warranty.
Right.
And what kind of warranties on the Deere?
So they all have an extended option that we would prefer to
Okay.
go with, which is a 6-year, 4,000-hour warranty.
Okay.
So John Deere's 6-year, 4,000-hour warranty is just under $9,000. Radke's is just under $13,000. So it brings the prices closer together with that extended warranty, which we recommend doing.
I have no problem going either direction.
I know the staff out there, they, just with the seats and everything and the cabs, and with the transmission, be able to have that tighter gear range and more choices to select as they hit through wet stuff, taller stuff. They felt strongly on John Deere, but they'll make work with whatever you guys decide. They don't care about the name on the side, they care about how it performs for us.
Back up here to my page. Well, I'll move to approve the noxious weed, approve proposed PO 7897 to Can-Equip for the purchase of a Wildcat mid-mounted boom mower with installation. I'll also move to, do we need to do all these completely separate, or can I make multiple motions all at once?
Bill Jeter, County Councilor, you can do them all in one motion unless
Okay,
it doesn't
Okay.
approve, and then you may have to break it out into separate motions.
okay. And then I'll move, so, and I'll add to that motion PO 7898 to Caribco Implement for the purchase of a 2026 John Deere 6M130 tractor.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Michael, is this 2026 budget? We're ordering it now, putting it in, but
They're ordering the mower out of operating funds this year, and then the mower will come out of capital, which is set aside. Yeah, it won't be delivered.
because that's budget. I
They
mean,
already, they have
budgeted for
enough in
that.
there, and there is a budgeted transfer for this tractor for next year.
Okay.
But there's enough in there right now so they can complete the purchase, so it'll be ready for mowing season.
And this tractor doesn't go on our enterprise program?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I guess for in the future, hopefully we can get some of these pieces of equipment with a buddy seat on the side, just for training purposes. Would be nice,
A
but
lot of the smaller equipment,
I
there's
know.
not enough room for a buddy seat.
I know.
So that's where we have that area out back that before someone ever gets out on the road, public roadway, the machinery, they spend time in our yard where there's no one trying to whip around them at 5 miles an hour if they're following the speed limits.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brennan.
Do I need a PO for that? Do we have one? Yeah, the PO. Okay.
Just for quick clarification for the clerk's office on the documents that need signatures, did you give those to the commissioner, or do we need authorization for Brendan to sign those documents? Is the question you asked me yesterday?
Brendan said he'll sign it.
Okay.
That's what he'll sign.
As long as the commission's okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. For the POs or the purchase.
There's purchase documents with the company with Carico, et cetera, for the tractors. The commissioner will sign the PO, but just to make sure that he had the authorization to sign the purchase documents, since it's above the spending authority that is required for the commission.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
Page 113.
Yeah, it keeps skipping on me. Gotta go slow here. What is going on? All right, go the other way. One 13.
Yeah, you gotta give it a minute. It's got
There we go. All right. Stonewood Estates North Community Improvement District. Gilmore and Bell.
I'll call in Dominic on the phone here, so that way, if you give me just a second, he'll be able to chime in on the discussion as well.
Okay.
Please dial 1 followed by the Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach.
I don't blame you.
We are sorry, there is no one available to take your call.
Can we start discussion while you're trying to reach Dominic?
Yes. So your next item for agenda is the discussion, or the continued discussion for the Community Improvement District for the Stonewood North Estates. Sorry, Darren Myers, County Administrator. As the commission knows, over the last several months, we've been discussing the project by the request of the homeowners in that subdevelopment to do some work to improve their road surface of the roughly 2 miles of road within their subdevelopment, and then the connecting adjoining road from 270th from Vineyard up just to Emerald Road, just past their development. Throughout that process, they've been working with Gilmore and Bell, Dominic Eck, to produce the petition documents and get everything ready to bring back for the commission to review and discuss further to move forward with the process. I know there's some discussion the commissioners would like to have in regards to the status of what maybe those parameters may look like for not only this development, but maybe any future developments, as there are 3 or 4 other groups of homeowner associations or groups of subdevelopments that are looking to do this as well. If we get into the financing, Mr. Larry Kleeman with Ransom Financial, who's also the Ellis County's financial consultant, this also works with Gilmore and Bell on several projects. He can answer any of those financing questions as well. But hopefully, I can get a hold of Dominic here shortly, and we can get him on the phone if there's any other questions. But maybe in the meantime, we can continue the discussion on the commissioner's thoughts on the process itself, which I've outlined in here as one of the attachments, but then maybe the minimum requirements that may need to be met for a CID to be able to move forward into the future. So I will stop at that and answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. Well, I guess it does say in here, I'd request that we kind of postpone any vote on approving the CID till later, till we can have a discussion over this stuff. But as Darren, alluded to, we've got 3 or 4 other places looking to do it. So I guess the conversation needs to be had of what are we looking, we open the door, this comes, what are we going to kind of hold ourselves to the standard for acceptance on? So I start the conversation there, I believe.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we need to have some kind of minimum standard regarding years of maintenance, regarding, I don't know, we talked about it yesterday. I'm drawing a little bit of a blank on different things.
And I guess let me state this, I've been working with Darren, and Darren I know has been putting things together more or less as a handout, so in case the community wants to come up and do this, to where there's a step-by-step of following this process, moving things along. Clarification for both county and resident or citizen for future. So that way there is a process and we can follow something. So we've been working kind of hand in hand, and I know he's had conversations with multiple homeowners as well as kind of how things progress and where we're at and how we've come to here.
I guess just to kind of recap, as Commissioner Burgess, I think, kind of asked me to, is to maybe bring up some of the comments that have been asked as what we should maybe consider if another CID, or if this one is to proceed. So that way, 2 instances here with the current CID for Stonewood North. If they set the bar clear up here for 2 or 3 different types of road maintenance procedures over that 10-year period, but the commission would only want to do 1, plus, the additional work plus 1, then do they want to adjust what they want to do over the next couple of years? But at the same time, if the bar is set at 2 or 3 recurring maintenance fees over those 10-year periods, the next development that comes in that wants to do it, they know that they need to step up to the plate to create their petition to that same level. So that way there is some kind of consistency there on that. So that the maintenance requirements, and can't necessarily, I know Commissioner Liker and I discussed this a little bit last night. We're talking from this project where Public Works remagmatized the road, and now we're looking at doing some type of seal coats, oil, rock, oil, sand type mixtures. But the next development could come in and say, we want to pave it with asphalt, or that would completely change what type of maintenance could be, or if they wanted to go completely to the next level and pour concrete, that changes the maintenance. So it can't really necessarily fit one size fits all, because it would be somewhat up to the homeowners, but we can at least create some parameters that if you followed this process, the commission would like to see 1, 2, or 3 coats of certain type of requirement of work to be done. Another idea that has been brought up is the statute states that a minimum of 55% of the landowners have to approve the petition to be a part of it. So one thought there is, if you have 55% approving, you still could potentially have 45% that are not. That's not the case in the Stonewood Estates case. They have probably closer up or above 90 to 100, above 80. But that's another thing that the commission could consider, is to make it more impactful and more of a group decision, that you could raise that minimum standard from 55 up to 75% to ensure that more people aren't being assessed for a project that they don't want, and you have to have a greater buy-in from that subdevelopment group. Another thing to put in there is maybe some parameters of not front-loading or not having the county pay the expense of the project. As you're looking here within the document, it's a couple $100,000. The commission has made comments that you don't want to pull away from other county projects that impact other community citizens by paying for this CID out of our reserves to do other road projects. Whereas this one, their bonding part of the finance, they'd finance the first part of it, so that way there would be no impact of loss of any revenue or any county dollars or time to be able to do other projects. This would take care of that. The way this is financed, they were actually not financing the whole thing. It's just financing enough to get them through several years to pay for the upfront fees while we assess and collect, pay the bond payments and the interest. And then by a couple years into it, there'd be enough money sitting in that fund to pay for those maintenance years, whatever years out they are in the future. So that way we're not paying, they're not paying to bond out more money initially and then paying interest for a longer period of time. So that would be another thing that the commission has kind of discussed, is setting that parameter out that we won't front load a project so that way it doesn't impact other county projects. So I think those are the biggest ideas that I've heard from the commission so far.
Right. Mr. Jeter, if we were to do something and change our requirement from whatever the statute says, a 55% up to, say, a 2/3 majority, a simple 2/3, is that something we can do, or could somebody potentially say, no, you can't?
Well, I'd have to look at it. You can charter out of any legislation if it's not uniform as to all counties.
Okay.
And my recollection of reading that statute, I think it is uniform to all counties, so I'm not sure you could
Okay.
charter out and
We could
change
impose
it.
something more.
because you're making it more restrictive.
Okay.
I'd have to reserve my opinion,
Okay.
but I think off the top of my head, I have a question whether you can do that.
Okay. That was kind of what I thought when I heard it. It's like, well, I needed to refer to you,
Yeah.
so, okay.
I just did get a message from Dominic. He might be able to answer that too. And if the commission like, I can try to call him back here.
Okay. I guess we can call and talk to him about how this is presented, so we get some questions answered on the CID as presented.
It's ready.
Yeah. Okay. Unless you guys got any other?
Only thing I have is, the 3 single seal coats. That's fine, but I believe our project manager and our public works director should look at that in case we do need more, so we don't lose that road. More asphalt, the more people are going to drive out there. You're probably going to see some increase in traffic once you do it. So that's my only concern. about that.
Okay. Which I think we could address, and I think all the points that Darren made, I think we kind of need to have them like on paper, and then we could review them at our work session and kind of critique it at that point. But I like a lot of the thoughts that are there.
Would you like me to call Dominic?
Yeah.
He knows better.
Dominic.
Hi, Dominic. This is Darren Myers in Ellis County.
Okay.
I do have you on speakerphone. We've kind of started the discussion a little bit, so I'll put you on, you're on speakerphone and you should be able to be heard by everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Dominic, we're having some discussion over some upcoming changes that we might look at for the future. I guess the first question is that the petition is, needs to be approved by 55% or more of the landowners within the CID. In the future, can we raise the bar as a county, or does it need to stay there for statute, the way you read the statute?
Yeah, so if I heard correctly, the question is, can you raise the required signatories above the 55% that is put in the statute? And the answer to that is yes. The statutory construct sets the minimum requirements for the number of signatories for the petition. Of course, the county could have a policy that requires a greater number than that 55% of the land area and 55% of the assessed value of property within any proposed district. So those are the minimums set by statute, but you are able to have a policy that you won't accept a petition if it doesn't meet a higher threshold that you all decide.
Okay, thank you for that. With the signers, is it as stated on the title of the land at the register? Is that how they need to sign? So if a property has two signers, we need to have both signatures or just one?
No, you're correct. It is as stated from record title. And so if it's owned jointly, then both of the owners would need to sign the petition.
Okay. Thank you.
And as I look at it, the petition's on here, everybody must be listed on the petition. And whether they by signing, they're affirming, but if they don't sign, that is essentially the no. Am I correct on that?
Did you hear that, Dominic?
I did not. I'm sorry.
The question from Commissioner Burgess was that everybody all the property owner in the CID area has to be on the petition by statute, but by not signing it displays their willing to not participate, so to speak, in the petition.
So the list of property owners on the back of the petition is simply a good way to indicate, who does own and who is signing and who is not. The name on the petition certainly does not count as a signature or count as assent unless it is signed. So, that is a kind of a procedural process kind of check to help you visualize, okay, here are all the property owners, and then you can look there and then see who's signed and who is not.
Okay. Kind of switching over to the repayment of this, can a property owner elect to repay this fund, their dues in full early? Or does it have to be drawn out over the period of this, whatever long it is?
You would be able to accept prepayment of special assessments. Yes.
Okay. We're looking at doing this pretty big size bond that we're getting, or looking at for this, I guess. The monies that are associated with the bond for a project such as this, can that go into any interest bearing account? And can the interest be put back towards these projects?
Yes, it could be. And yes, bond proceeds can be invested. There are some, tax rules and limitations on the amount of proceeds, on what proceeds can generally earn. But for the case at hand, with the bonds only going to financing the initial improvements, excuse me, and it being a smaller amount, it's unlikely that there would be, significant material earnings on that portion. But yes, any funds received can be invested, and then those investments kind of help prop up that project fund and utilize to offset costs.
Okay.
That should be able to be easily tracked with Fern's the county treasurer's office, that whatever monies that's in there, if he invests those in a certain way, the money, we would have to create a separate fund for this. So it's not, not a separate bank account. It's a separate fund in our accounting system. So that way we can attract all the expenses penny for penny, as well as any interest earned. So that way, if it does have a $227.13 of interest for the year, it'll show that revenue going back directly into that fund, and it would just be accounted for the unencumbered rollover balance for year to year as this project progresses through the 10-year assessment period.
Okay. How soon, I mean, are we going, if we accept this here, say before, I'm gonna say March, April time period, when would the first assessment come out? Can we schedule that for those landowners?
Dominic can verify, but the assessment would come on their 2026 tax roll bill for budget year 2027. So a year from now, when you get your tax statements, those assessments would be on there. Is that correct, Dominic?
That is correct.
Okay.
So we have time to go through the process a little bit further if the county commission does wish. I don't believe the project was to be done until 2027. So it's
kind of, I think it's up in the air with whatever works on scheduling, so.
yeah, if the commission moves forward, the bond moves forward, once we have the funds to be able to pay for the project, it could be done in 26 using those bond proceeds, which 4 or 5 months out, depending on the process for notifications, resolutions, publication, or notices and everything to work through Mr. Kleeman, getting all that stuff moving forward.
Okay.
Does the bond include all the legal fees for Gilmore and Bell? And I mean, it kind of outlines a few of these things: COI 15%, creation, legal fees, publications, all that. I may have Ty come up. I think he may be potentially fronting some of this money himself. So
Come to the front, please. Thank
And
you.
if you look at the spreadsheet there, and Mr. Kleeman can verify it, there's the fees that are included, the estimated fees.
Yeah, Larry Kleeman, Ransom Financial, county's financial consultant. Yeah, the bond COI, 15%, that's estimated for bonding fees. Garth's fees, bond counsel, our fee is financial advisor, and underwriting fees. So that's built into that.
So there'd be no actual extra costs associated with this going towards these residents on here.
No, that should pretty much be it, yeah, so the bonding costs, and then, as you said, the annual assessment will throw on top of that as part of the annual special assessment collected.
Okay.
I know there was also, Mr. Wilson did have a question that Mr. Kleeman could verify too on the set rate over, the interest rate over the years as well, if you want to touch base on that.
Yeah, I mean, I had an estimate in here, 3.75% over 10 years. And typically, we help you take competitive bids, but that's about where we're seeing it. It might be a little bit high, but this would be a small kind of standalone bond, so it might be harder to attract bidders. So, but that's kind of where I would estimate it right now.
Okay.
But we won't know for sure until it's issued.
Right, yeah.
Can
it
you
just depends on
reject it? I mean, if it's just completely out of left field, can that be rejected and then essentially wait and then reissue it?
Yeah, you could reject all bids and
Mhm.
and we could try it again, but yeah, just depending on what your schedule is.
Okay. I think that kind of answers my questions.
Well, living in Munzer, when we did our sewer, and it's called Munzer Improvement District, it worked, but back then, you didn't even hardly notice it on your taxes, that it was just so minimal, but I think this is our last year here, and we have that all paid off, so, it does work, so.
Is there any differences, and I guess it's probably a question for Dominic, is this going to be the same process for bonding that we look to do with our public building commission, or is there a difference with it being a community improvement?
Process is essentially the same in regards to attaining the bonds, just the process is different because the bonds for the PBC deal with buildings specifically. So the county commission has to authorize the PBC to proceed, which is one of the future agenda items here. Whereas this all stays within the county commission. That bond for the buildings would have its own fund, its own interest, its own payments, et cetera. PBC kind of controls that with permission from the commission, but the bond for the road stays solely with the county commission's discretion, as well as it involves the homeowners because they have to be a part of the petition to proceed.
Okay.
They can't be the same bonds. We can't combine everything together because it's two separate statutes that we're dealing with in regards to the bonding process.
Okay. Good to know.
I guess there
What
is some type of financial benefit that if we could time them together, but pushing this off several months is gonna separate them. It may make it more attractive, as Mr. Kleeman said, that if we included the PBC bonds at the same time as the bidding for this, they may become more attractive for somebody to lump them all together and get better interest rates. But by postponing this several months, it's gonna put that process back. I think our schedule for the PBC was April.
Yeah, around the 1st of April, right.
So by not doing this until February would put that back till June or July before we have that done for this CID estimated.
Okay.
I know we have a couple property owners here. Do you have questions that you want to ask? Anything else need clarification?
My name is Jennifer Teagat. I'm the president of Stonewood Estates North Homeowners Association. And actually, my question is for Mr. Eck. I know we talked about joint owners, but I have a question about clarification on the trustees. We have 2 or 3 lots that are owned by a trust. So I'm not sure how we proceed with, do we just go with, like, for example, my revocable trust owns my lot, so I'm the only one listed, but we have a different one that has 4 people listed. So I wanted clarification on a trust in specific, not individual homeowners.
Did you hear that question, Dominic?
So the question is, who would sign on behalf of the trust
Mhm.
if the trust was the owner? Is that correct?
Yes.
The trustee named in those trust indenture documents would be the one that would be authorized to sign on behalf of that trust.
So we can go by what's on the document and we don't have to look further into the trust to know if it's co or, who has what authority.
But the documents that set up the trust would name a trustee that would have the powers to administer that trust estate. And so whatever trustee is authorized to make that signature on behalf of that trust could sign. So there's not necessarily a one size fit all. It's whoever that trust empowers to sign on its behalf.
So I guess my question is, how do we find that? Is that my responsibility to find that out, or is that someone else's? Because I wasn't sure what was listed on the county website, if that was all inclusive or if it was just, the one person, or if it's all four or whatever, I guess is what I'm trying to understand. If that
Are you
makes
trying,
sense.
like, to verify not just your own trust, but if somebody, as you're the president, so if you're going out getting signatures, and I look at here, you got a Ziegler trust. Is
Right.
it your responsibility to make sure the correct trustee is signing it?
And the correct
And
numbers of them.
how does the president know that that's the right person?
And all the right people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that the responsibility of the HOA president, Dominic, for?
The petitioners will need to ensure that they're working with the correct property owners and those with the power and authority to sign on behalf of that property to get that executed petition as they're circulating and gathering signatures.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Last question, I guess, for Dominic that I have. If we postpone any vote on what's presented here and make changes on our behalf, will the petitioners of this CID be able to change whatever if they decide that they want to change, can they change it, or do they have to start over from the beginning? I guess, can they make a last minute change on the structure, or say the dollar amount one way or the other?
So the petitioners can submit a change petition, something different than this draft that we have out there. Those can always be submitted. Any sort of petition could be submitted. What you have in front of you, if you are giving them the blessing on this, and then something is changed when it's brought back, then that's kind of their risk to bring back something different than what you have indicated you would support. And so that's just kind of more of a political question, as in terms of, if we give you the blessing to go forward on this basis and you bring us something different, then we may not be as willing on that change petition.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess I would agree to wait until we have our scheduled work session on the 27th. I think that would be a good place to just fully discuss each of the different options and put into place what our minimums are. I know that kind of delays this here a little bit, but it would allow two things, I think importantly. One, for the commission to kind of set that standard. So that way, as we go into multiple of these, we have this. It allows their homeowners association to either reevaluate and say, if we maybe our requirements are a little less strict, maybe they say, yeah, well, then we don't need to do quite that. Or maybe it allows them to say, yeah, we're content with what we have. They don't have to change their petition at all. But I think that's an exercise worth having ahead of just approving this one and then having an argument with a future one to say, well, what's the standard, or passing this one now and then we have lesser standards, and then now this homeowners association is saying, well, why are you holding us to a higher standard?
Yeah.
So I agree with that. That doesn't delay it too much, and I think that gives us the footing that we're looking for as we, again, and it's not just this, it's our overall approach to managing and maintaining the county for multiple years. What is our standard? So that meeting's on January 27th, if that's what we want to do.
Mhm.
Does that work for you, Neil?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Then we can schedule our discussion publicly, whatever we decide at a February meeting.
Yep. That gives us about a month here to kind of collect our information, input, thoughts on what we want to see as a standard. And maybe answer some of those legal questions and make sure that if we do something like that, I don't think that's a bad idea, potentially to have a little bit higher threshold for petitioners, but make sure that we answer that legal question before we just pass a petition. So,
I guess I would just like to see something out on social media that, like Perry Acres didn't even know this was going on, so we get them all included. So a lot of people don't know about it, so I think we need to include them all in on it. That way they got their, at our work session or come to a meeting, whatever, that way they got their say.
Well, I'm okay with moving that and discussing it at our work session.
Okay.
So, and I appreciate Dominic answering a bunch of those questions.
Sure.
Come up.
Ty Wilson, Stonewood North. Hey, Dominic, you there? Or do you already leave?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, when you gave us this rough draft, which we're all getting to discuss today, it states in there that your assessment schedule shows, I believe it put us at $80 a month according to one of the emails you sent me, and it did not include fees or interest. Then we've passed emails back and forth, and now we have another one, and this may be more of Ransom Financial's question to answer, because I will have several homeowners, since they're all watching this today, beating my phone up in the next hour. Now the schedule shows $79.25, or whatever it is, which is close enough to the $80 a month you projected. I just need to know, does that assessment schedule now include the interest and fees that you are estimating for all of this? Or I don't need to go around to a bunch of neighbors and they all sign going, hey, looks like we're doing it for $80 a month. And at the last minute, it comes in at $117. We're going to have a lot of upset people. So I need some clarification, not on my behalf, but even on behalf of the commission as they're moving forward, to know that we're all on the same page.
Yes, the interest and fees are included in the $80.
That's not what it states in the original draft.
Is it in the one here?
What's that?
The original draft, as I was reading through it, stated the amount, and it stated that it was minus the fees and the interest. That's why when I'm looking at the assessment schedule, I'm trying to get complete verification that when I go talk to my neighbors and the people in my community, we're all on the same page. And as long as you're telling me that's the included cost, we're good.
If you're referring to section 2, where it says the estimated cost of the project, it states the cost estimates that we received, and we said that cost estimate, which is the direct cost of the project, do not include interest and financing costs. However, when we talk about the amount of assessments to be levied, which, are in the back of the petition on Exhibit A. That does include, which is why, those numbers don't exactly match, is because we put the cost of the actual hard cost of the project up above and say you also will need to add interest and fees to this. And when we add the interest and fees, you get to the assessment amount, which is on the back. And so the petition that has been submitted to you does include the interest and fees in that $80 amount.
Which is perfect. You just publicly stated that while we were in session, so when my neighbors ask, I can verify. That's all I needed.
That was one question, Dominic, that I did email you, is maybe in an updated draft when we reconsider this, is to include that kind of breakdown, so it's more transparent within the CID petition. So that way it shows the breakdown of costs overall. Would that be beneficial?
Yeah, we can have that as an addendum to the petition for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just have one more question, because I know the commission wants to have a work session and they would like to decide whether they will or will not create a standard, a minimum, whatever they want to do going forward. Today, we are only looking at a draft. No one is approving. It is simply here for the point of discussion to try to get a lot of questions answered. As long as we go back through you, whether we have you change language, cost points, whatever that everybody agrees on, we should be good when we bring forth the final petition proposal for their acceptance, correct?
Should be, if we, if
That
it's-
should be.
I'm just making sure everybody's on the same page, because
You're at our
everybody's
minimum or
watching
above.
this.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay? Any questions for me? If not, I'm done.
we're good. Thank you, Ty. I think we got that. Thank you, Dominic. I think you can drop off now.
Anything left for you, Dominic, before we disconnect?
Not for me. Thanks, Darren. If you need me for the PBC, I can be available for that part as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire Department and U.S. Department of Interior grant.
Select the wrong page.
Yeah, it's Darren.
48.
As the commission is aware, the fire department accepted or applied for a Department of Interior grant that was due to the increasing need across the United States for fire service personnel to have additional equipment throughout the different times of the year. The basis of the grant was to the cities, the counties, local municipalities had to have an existing vehicle to be able to use and to repurpose, and the grant was to apply the funds to purchase a skid unit, which is essentially, if you consider like a caged unit that has the pump, the manifolds, the tank, the lines, the drafting equipment, all that you'd basically just sit onto the back of a bed of a truck. And those look various, depends on how each individual department, where you're at, how those look and how those are set up. The fire department was successful in getting that grant, and we've been waiting several months to get it. With the government shutdown, that did prolong this several months for actually getting the award document. So about a week and a half ago, we did get the award document of that $21,000 and some odd dollars to move forward with that. The original intention of the grant was to repurpose a Chevy 3500 pickup that was allocated to the county fire department through Homeland Security Council reallocation. And since then, as Lyle stated, we replaced an F550, so a heavier duty chassis that we'll be able to use instead. And doing that, we'll be able to hold 300 or 500 gallons instead of 300 gallons because of that heavier F550 chassis. So we've done some preliminary work already that was outside the grant. We put a new opening in the Company 8 door fire station out there, a new garage door. It was framed out, so It's like a $1,700 expense to have that cut out and the concrete removed for the approach, and then C&E doors got the low bid, and the garage door and the opener has been put in there for roughly right at $4,000. So the truck is already out there. Now that we have the allocation and the notice of funding from the Department of Interior, we can redo our bids because our original bid was a 300-gallon skid unit. Now we're going to move to a 5. So hopefully within the next month, with the holidays here, but in a meeting in January, I'll bring back a proposal with a low bid for the skid unit to be purchased and be able to move forward with that. And then once I have that, we'll bring it to the commission for approval, and we'll be able to get that ordered and maybe have it done within a couple months after that. So any questions? We're just basically asking for approval to proceed with the grant.
I have none. That's great. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Thank you.
And it took just a little bit more than the government shutdown. You had a bunch of hoops to jump through yourself.
Yeah, it seemed like there was 4 different website processes that I had to go through for registering the ACH transfers, to another one for creating a grants portal, another one for grants management. There's another one for the grant enrollment or the application itself. So and some of them were linked to the Department of Justice grant that the courts got for their recovery court funding. So they had to redo some things and separate how they're set up to get it work. But it's well worth the time in the end that we still got the grant and are able to proceed.
Mm-hmm.
On Kansas Legislative Policy Group, KLPG annual dues.
Your next agenda item, I visited with each of the commissioners about this, and by the request of the commission, kind of received some additional information from KLPG, which is the Kansas Legislative Policy Group, which is Ellis County is a member of. It's primarily a membership-based organization that is from counties essentially in western Kansas, west of Salina, et cetera. Not all counties are a part of this. I believe there's about 25 or so counties that are part of them. This is a group that the county commission does attend many of their meetings throughout the year, as well as through the legislative session the first couple of months. They have updates that they send to each of us, and they also have the webinars that we attend, or at least some of us do attend those every week to get updates for what's going on in the Capitol. The reason it's on the agenda is the increase. They finally looked after about a decade to change not necessarily the way they structure their fees, but it was voted on back in September, I believe, at the last meeting Commissioner Younger was in attendance of, to increase their budget, which then essentially increases the dues that we would pay. So the dues are increasing from roughly $7,400 a year this year to just over $9,450 the following year. So due to that increase, I wanted to make sure the county commission had the opportunity to discuss it and weigh in if you wanted to continue that membership in 2026 or not. And as I stated, KOPG, Mr. Smith did give me a lot of information here that's in your agenda item, as well as all the other fees that are charged to all the other counties as well.
I guess for me, I think it is an organization that we attend their things. We heard at KAC last week that this is going to be maybe an important year to stay engaged with our state legislators, stay engaged with what's going on at the State House regarding, as we saw our representative today talking about property tax and other things that impact the county. So that's, to me, what KLPG is a part of to help us keep updated. They're there. We get the newsletter from them on what's going on, and they do inform us on things that will impact us. So I think it's an organization worth continuing on with and paying. I know it's an increase. But we've also, for 2026, we're dropping NACO. I mean, there's a little bit of a shift. We're not paying for that membership into there, so this is an increase, but I think overall it ends up coming out to what we'd be paying for memberships anyway. So those are my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I like their newsletter that they sent out, and they had, there was representatives there at the meeting when I was there at Russell, so they do reach out, and they do a good job of it. So.
No, I'm fine staying with them since we are addressing some of our other memberships, so I think that's fine.
Okay, I move to continue the KLPG membership for 2026.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion is second on the table. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 No opposed, passes 3-0. So we're right. 2026 reorganization appointment discussion. Reviewing the county commission appointments for 2026.
So this agenda item kind of starts talking about 2026 already, as the second commission meeting in January is when the commission will take the final actions on making the motions and of many other things that are not also included in this, but these are the actual direct appointments that are made by the commission. Some of the others are just committees and things like the LEPC, et cetera. But the primary reason for this is transparency to the public, to ensure the commission has the ability to discuss these appointments a little bit before they're actually made in January. But a second piece is for the county clerk to have enough time to make the changes within the CIC financial software to change the signature lines for who the county commission is going to be for chair for the following year. So that way she can get all that set up and processed in advance for that budget year. So in 2026, actually, we're going to move this up from December to November to allow the county clerk to have more time to have that process done, because it does take at least a month or so, correct?
Close to 2 months.
2 months. So get that done in a little bit more in advance and for the 2027 year at that point. But then the other point to go through here is there's several boards that the county commission are you appoint each other to, as well as all the department heads and some of the other library, like the library board, the fair board and such, that if you knew of somebody that may not be interested in those positions anymore, you can pass that along to us, and then we can try to work with those individuals. If the commission may not have another person that you would like to nominate or know that may be interested, we kind of gives us a little bit of time in advance too to get somebody to fill those spots for the board to consider in January for those appointments. Like I say, no real action is needed. The main thing that the clerk would like to know is to confirm that that Neil would move up, Commissioner Younger would move up to be the chair in 26, since he's the vice chair in 2025 here, or if the commission would like to redo that in some other order. Bobby does not want to assume that's who it's going to be, because then it could take longer to get those processes done after January rolls around.
Are you good with moving up, Commissioner Younger?
Sure.
That works for me.
Okay.
Two of you.
I guess one of the questions I have, like for some of the, just say I'm on the Ellis County Fair Board, do we contact these people and ask them if they're still willing, or does the president of that board do that?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
So like Justin Scheck is the president of the Fair Board. We don't assume that all their Fair Board members are going to stay the same. There's actually a change on the Fair Board, if I remember right. Either the secretary or the treasurer has changed. They've asked Chris Polifka, and she's actually already attending those meetings. But if the commission doesn't really see any changes, we would still go, actually, Krista goes back and we contact all the people, because this includes the fire district, the LEPC meetings, and there's some other things that aren't on here, to confirm all the changes, all the appointments are correct. In that way, if somebody does say, let's give, for instance, the care council, if somebody is stepping down, maybe they have an idea who would be interested to recommend to the commission to be reappointed or to appoint somebody different. So yes, we still do contact all the individuals.
Okay.
Lyle does everything with LEPC meetings because he's in charge of the LEPC and runs those. I think he's got a total of 34 or 38 people that are on that LEPC, that local emergency planning committee, that are participating. I believe they had a meeting this last week, I believe. So it's kind of a group effort to contact between the commission, myself, Carissa, Lyle, the fire district, myself, putting all those names and confirming for you in January that everybody wants to proceed.
And that is also with our volunteer firefighters, or can they bail out anytime? Is it a year thing, or is it a?
Every year, the commission appoints the
Okay.
company, the officers to the
Right.
fire district. When we first started 10 years ago, the commission would just appoint the company chiefs, but I've kind of expanded that because we've created a little bit better span of control. So now I put all the officers in the entire fire department on the list,
Good.
which you'll see. And we just had 2 promotions. We had a couple retirements, so you'll have a couple new names on that list for 2026. Scott Wellbrock, Company 4 in Victoria, retired here 20-some years, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we just went through the interview process and have appointed, or we have selected Dylan Kuhn to fill that position as the assistant chief. And then there'll be some changes that they're working on at the captain and lieutenant level here at Company 5 in Hayes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that out there. That way, our community sees that we have volunteers and willing to step up.
Yep, we discuss that with them every year, and remind them that they don't have to be there, but they know that. But it's always the opportunity for them to know that the county commission still does appoint those positions, and they have the ability to step down if they do wish. But luckily, that's never happened. We have a good group of, all 100 of them are great. So no matter if they're an officer or not, we appreciate whatever position they fill, whatever level of training they have, whatever time commitment they can commit to to the department. Don't matter if someone's not available during the day, if they can respond at 2 a.m. You never know when the call's going to come in, and having a plethora of guys and or ladies and guys to help out is greatly appreciated. With that, we'll go ahead, and if anything does come up, just let me know, and we'll make contacts over the next couple months. But at least Bobby can proceed with getting Commissioner Younger as the chair and the signatures put in.
So this item's this is for the PBC, correct? Or no?
This is the county commission's.
We have to start the PBC.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have
No.
to authorize it.
No.
No.
This is a county commission agenda item that we have to discuss before the Public Building Commission can proceed.
Okay. Okay. So yes, this item, okay. Authorized for Public Building Commission to start the bonding process for the listed Ellis County building capital projects.
Once again, as the commission is aware, over the entire year, starting back in March at the commission retreat, we've had the discussions of the different capital improvement projects that were needed in place, and we've proceeded through getting some preliminary scopes of the projects to include budget estimates and some design work to show what those would be. And the 5 different items are listed in the agenda. The first item that would be started, if the commission does continue to approve, would be a remodel of the law enforcement center, mainly the main floor, the office area, as well as the basement, which includes the communications center. These five different projects came in at a budget estimate about 10.77 million, and the commission at a previous meeting wanted to limit that budget at 10 million. The next step is to confirm that you want to proceed as the county commission with this process. With the process before you today would be approved resolution 2025-20 that authorizes the Public Building Commission to proceed with the financing. The intent to finance these projects through the PBC at that $10 million fee or cap is what you had set for transparency purposes. We can still keep that funding level at 10 million, but there are the cost of issuance is kind of we talked about earlier with the bond for the road project up north, which includes the legal fees, the issuance fees. There's quite a big bit of fees that are in there, and Mr. Kleeman is here is also to discuss that process. But within the resolution here, as well as the PBC, we have $11 million set as the bond cap. Because after a certain point, not necessarily today's, but at the February meeting, after the publications are made through the clerk's office in the newspaper, once those publications are made at that next level, we can always reduce the amount, but we can't increase it. So there's the cost of the bonds and everything of the process that would be on top of that 10 million. So we would still have a $10 million cap unless the commission would change it. But then instead of, if those fees are $200,000 to go through the entire process, it would be a $10.2 million essential funding solution instead of your $10 million minus that 200,000 and then reducing the amount of funds available to complete the projects, which, as the commission, I think Commissioner Younger said last night, crossed his fingers that everything comes in below budget to allow that room to be able to be absorbed. So with that, I don't know if Mr. Kleeman would like to discuss the process any further, but this is the next step, which creates the first step for the PBC.
Yeah, Larry Kleeman with Ransom Financial. Yeah, I mean, Darren pretty well summed it up perfectly. I mean, this is just a initializing step. The county commission is then requesting the PBC to consideration these bonds on your behalf. When the PBC convenes, they can do the resolution of intent that's published twice, and then 30 days later, assuming there's no protest, then the PBC has authority to issue the bonds at that time. The key thing, like Darren mentioned, is the amount. Right now we have a cap of 11 million that you're requesting the PBC, and then they'll put that amount in their resolution of intent. The idea was, 10 million, and then, cost of issuance might be $300,000 on top of that. Again, as Darren mentioned, we'll discuss this again in February once everything is approved with no protest. And then at that time, we can then discuss again exactly the precise number, the amount that you want to issue the bonds for, and proceed in that manner. Happy to answer any questions on the process or the numbers.
I guess I really don't have any questions on it. I mean, I understand after we talked about it last night that there's going to be a cost of doing this. So we already, the 10 million, all our projects came in over 10 million as presented, and we cut it down to hopefully capitalize on some savings. So I'd hate to see a shortfall now.
Well, I'll move to approve resolution 2025-20, authorizing the PBC to issue bonds for the purpose of financing building projects.
I'll second it.
Motion is second on the table. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. Passes 3-0. Uh, 2025 end of year transfers.
Sorry, I skipped over that one. I thought we were done, and I was on the next train of thought. Always at the end of the year, per policy, the county commission has the ability to review the budgets that are throughout the county And by policy, what is set up is that if there's any remaining budget authority within a department's budget, the county commission can approve up to 50% or modify that to transfer to their capital equipment funds. So as you can see, within your agenda packet is a spreadsheet that includes all the different departments. All the departments except for the fair rental budget, which is the rental fees that come in and out, the expenses for the Schenk and the Unrein building. They're going to be right at budget and don't expect them to have any budget authority left for that. But the remaining fees are about $1.266 million that could be transferred over if the commission approves. This is based on estimates at this point, based on the calculation that you looked at the first 11 months of the year, divide that by 11, take it times 12, and then subtract that from their total budget authority. That gets that 50% transfer amount, which is half of whatever that remaining budget authority is. On this spreadsheet, there are several that are highlighted in yellow that I wanted to signify as transferring more than the 50%. We've done this last year with mainly the sheriff's office, the buildings and grounds, and the communications budget, is to help prepare for the previous discussion of the renovations that are needed at the law enforcement center. Instead of transferring 50% of their remaining budget authority, we increased that to 75 to help build up that capital balance to help with these projects. So as stated, the buildings and grounds, communications, and the sheriff's office budgets are all at 75%. A third of that would still go to their capital equipment fund, which is upfitting equipment, maintenance, vehicles, etc. The other 2/3 of that, 75%, would go to Fund 6, which is the capital improvement fund for building projects. The public works is highlighted. As the commission also just saw earlier, the equipment that they purchase is somewhat frequent and expensive. So increasing their amount is to 75%, also pads their, or I wouldn't say one pad, but funds their capital equipment fund a little bit better for those larger purchases into the future as well. One thing I do want to point out on these line items is these amounts are always lower. They can never be increased. So I'll just start with the appraiser's office. That estimated amount of their 50% transfer is $12,031. If at the end of the year they come in further under budget than what is projected, when I make these transfers in February and when the year end is closed, I can't transfer any more than $12,031. So if their year end number comes at $15,000, they're capped at $12,031 because that is what the commission approves at that point. So the department heads, we have reviewed this over the last couple months. Luckily, we're getting to the close of the meeting, but so that is why these numbers are in here. Basically, sets a cap of what can be transferred when the books are closed for the 2025 year. One new line item that is in here from not in the past years is the contingency, which is in Department 97 of the general fund. This year we had a good year that we didn't have to use much of our contingency, even though you look at the basement here, almost $600,000 in repairs, which was covered gratefully by our insurance company. But we have about $100,000 left in contingency for this year, knocking on wood that the next 14, 15 days doesn't do anything major. But that money would be transferred, 100% of whatever out of contingency would be transfers to the county administrator's capital fund budget to prepare us several years down the road for an ERP replacement. Our original estimates, as we started the process, looked at about $320,000 for that, and cost estimates now are around $700,000 for that. So that project will be pushed out several years, probably 2 or 3 years, but allowing us to do this kind of helps us save a little bit every year, so that way there's less of a burden to the county budget in 2028, 2029, whenever that does roll around, by putting a little bit of capital reserves away each year to build up for that. Other than that, that's an explanation of the budget, and that's it for any questions.
I have none.
I have
Obviously,
none.
this is a part of the only way we can try and save up to,
Yep.
to fund the future, so I have no questions.
Well, either. I move to authorize the county administrator to make the 2025 year-end transfers as listed as on the attached spreadsheet.
Second that.
Okay, got a motion and second on the table. Any further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, passes 3-0. And now you can go into your other train of thought, any county administrator report.
That was my train of thought. What I was going to share with the commission was a follow-up from a previous meeting. In early December, we had the discussion of the Wheatland Avenue north of Fort Hays Tech North Central being a private road on private property being used by the public. I did visit with President Mason with Fort Hays as well as President Burke with Fort Hays State North Central and some of the property owners out there. We will have a follow-up meeting that NCK will host at their facility sometime in January to discuss as a group that, and I'll try to coordinate getting everybody there between the college, Hays Med, and I believe there's 5 different landowners as well as the city and the county, potentially KDOT. Brendan has also got some more information on that we'll try to share and see if we can get some type of resolution or plan moving forward. So once we get something set up in mid to late January, I'll let the commission know. But that was just a follow-up. I wanted to let everybody know that we were still working on that in the background.
Neil?
I did last night go to the Shenshin meeting, and they're working on a policy / UTV golf carts, whatever, to allow them on their streets. So they're kind of struggling a little bit with that, but they want to make it simple. So also did, last week went to the KAC. Was very informative. That's where I got the stuff for the hopefully we can get some funding from our lottery. And also I went to the Christmas party, which received a lot of emails on it for the good part of it. Years ago they used to do it in somebody's house, so very good. And then I do want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and if you have to travel safe, because it's very, very sad that we had 2 fatalities in our county here. Anyhow, that's all I have.
Nathan?
Like Commissioner Younger, went to KAC last week in the Christmas party. The KAC is really good we had a little team building with our executive team, but then the networking with all the other counties, some of the problems that we're going to be facing in the very near future. And I guess coming up, I'm going to be at the zoning meeting tomorrow evening to observe that, and been talking with other people and ideas on that regard. So that's a issue coming down our lane. And again, Merry Christmas to everyone. So that's all I have.
Very similar to me. I attended the employee Christmas holiday party. Appreciate it. And thank you to those that reached out. And again, we got a lot of thanks for what we're doing there and compared to what they did or didn't do in the past. And I very much enjoyed it. My kids enjoyed it. They were all there too. So kind of weird that our faces are the ugliest sweater, but I guess I'll take that with a grain of salt. Attended the KAC. Happy 50th anniversary to KAC. It was very interesting hearing the history of how that got started and the issues that they've tackled over the years and continue to tackle. A lot of them are the same. But yes, again, it's good in our executive session, getting to know each other a little more, but then hearing from other county commissioners in the same spot that we're in and the battles that we're trying to make. and emphasized a big part of working with our state legislators, communicating with them, and that's, again, thanks Representative Barb Wassinger. That was actually, she reached out prior to that, but that was the emphasis out of KAC that I took, is to really engage with our legislators. That's all I have. So with that,
Okay.
we'll go into executive session.
I move to the Board of County Commissioners recess for an executive session for 15 minutes under the following exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act pursuant to attorney-client privilege exception. The subject to be discussed during the session is contract negotiations. Those in attendance, in addition to the Board of County Commissioners, are Mr. Bill Jeter and Mr. Darren Myers. And we will go 8. Yeah, 10:55, if that gets everybody. They need to go use the restroom.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion? Got a mouthful. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed, passes 3-0. I also forgot to say Merry Christmas to everybody as well. I meant to- executive session at 10:58. No decisions were made. I will adjourn the Ellis County Commission meeting at 10:59. And then ready. We just say we're in public peace. I don't know if there's an official. It's been a while. Then we'll convene the